Oh, let's face it. There are people out there who make it a habit to push your buttons, test your patience, and treat your boundaries like they're optional. They show up as the coworker who makes snide comments masked as jokes. The friend who downplays your achievements with a shrug. The family member who conveniently forgets your time matters too. It's not always loud or obvious. Sometimes it's the quiet kind of disrespect. The sideways glances, the passive-aggressive remarks, the dismissive tone that says, "You don't matter as much as I do." And what are we usually told? Just ignore it. Stay calm. Be the bigger person. But let's be honest. How's that working for you? What if being the bigger person doesn't mean staying silent? What if it means standing tall, with dignity, composure, and strength that doesn't stoop to their level, but also doesn't tolerate nonsense? This is where the Stoics come in. Not as emotionless statues, but as masters of self-control, boundaries, and bold clarity. In this video, you're going to learn 5 bold, Stoic-inspired strategies that will help you respond to subtle, and not so subtle, disrespect, at work, in friendships, or at the dinner table, without losing your cool or your self-respect. You'll learn how to stay calm, collected, and powerful, without becoming cold or cruel. By the end of this, you won't just manage disrespect, you'll master it. Let's get into it. To practice the power of presence. In any room, power doesn't always belong to the loudest voice. More often, it lives in the quiet, steady presence of someone who is deeply grounded in who they are. Someone who doesn't chase approval or attention, but simply is. That's presence. Disrespect often preys on perceived weakness, not physical but emotional. Desperation for validation, constant talking, over-explaining. These are signals that someone is unsure of their own value. When people sense that, some instinctively move to dominate. But when your energy says, "I don't need to prove anything," everything shifts. Presence is power. It's eye contact that doesn't waver. It's posture that says you belong here. It's a voice that doesn't rush, doesn't rise to defend, but lands with calm certainty. You don't need to argue when you already know the ground you stand on. I remember sitting in a meeting where a colleague, someone who clearly enjoyed the sound of their own voice, kept cutting in to undercut my points. The temptation to jump in, to justify, to win the room was strong. But I paused. I let silence do what words couldn't. Then, when I spoke, I kept it clear and deliberate. No over-explaining, no edge. Just stillness and the facts. Eventually, the interruption stopped. The tone of the room changed. Because energy speaks, and mine said, "I'm not rattled, and I don't need your permission to speak with authority." The Stoics understood this. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The tranquility that comes when you stop trying to control what others think of you. That's the heart of presence. When you release the need to manage how you're seen, you reclaim your power. You become rooted, not reactive. From that place, presence becomes magnetic. It doesn't demand respect. It evokes it. So next time you feel the urge to overprove, pause instead. Straighten your posture. Lock in your eye contact. Speak only what's needed. Let your presence fill the room, and let others adjust themselves around it. Respond with silence, not emotion. Silence isn't surrender. It's strategy. In a world that rewards quick comebacks and louder voices, choosing silence can feel counterintuitive, maybe even weak. But make no mistake, silence is not passive. It's an act of presence, a refusal to be pulled into someone else's emotional storm. When wielded with intention, silence becomes a kind of power that words often fail to match. Not everything deserves a response. That's the first truth to understand. When someone lobs a sarcastic remark your way, what they really want is a reaction. Something to validate their provocation. Anger, defensiveness, even a nervous laugh will do. It gives them ground to stand on, a spark to fan into something bigger. But when you don't respond, when you simply look at them, expression neutral, eyes steady, they're left with the weight of their own words. No echo, no reward, just the discomfort of their own intent. Silence unsettles people. It forces them to sit with their own behavior. Imagine a coworker laces their comment with condescension, expecting you to take the bait. But instead of snapping back, you offer nothing. No blink, no smile, just quiet. The air shifts. Their attempt to diminish you crumbles beneath the pressure of your calm. That moment doesn't need a defense. It already won itself. This isn't about pretending to be unaffected. It's about choosing where to place your energy. By staying silent, you make it clear. I don't owe you my reaction. You keep your power by refusing to participate in emotional games. The bait can't catch you if you don't bite. Stoic philosopher Epictetus wrote, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react that matters." That truth has never been more relevant. You don't control other people's words, but you control whether or not those words take root in you. When you practice silence, you're not repressing your emotions. You're mastering them. You're saying, I won't be moved unless I choose to move. And yes, it takes strength. Sometimes more strength than speaking. 'Cause silence doesn't mean you didn't notice the disrespect. It means you noticed and decided it wasn't worth your peace. They expected you to flinch. You didn't. And that silence, it screamed louder than any comeback ever could. It told them you saw right through it. That you understood the game and refused to play. That your sense of self isn't fragile enough to be shaken by a few careless words. Silence isn't empty. It's full of resolve, clarity, and a quiet defiance that rattles the insecure far more than raised voices ever could. Hold it. Use it. Let it do the talking for you. Withdraw access, not just attention. Respect isn't something you plead for. It's not earned with endless explanations or debates. It's enforced, not with anger, but with action. Not everyone who enters your life deserves front-row access to it. And when someone repeatedly disrespects your boundaries, it's time to stop negotiating. Pull back. Withdraw access. You don't need a dramatic exit or a final confrontation. You don't need to prove your worth to people determined not to see it. If someone constantly undermines your confidence, belittles your choices, or drains your peace, you don't owe them your proximity. Respect isn't just taught with words. It's upheld with distance. Take emotional boundaries as seriously as you take physical ones. You wouldn't let someone walk into your home and smash your things. So why allow someone to trample your spirit under the excuse of just being honest or just caring? Let's be clear. This isn't about revenge or punishment. It's about protection. Protecting your growth. Protecting your mental health. Protecting your right to peace. Consider this real-life story. You've been friends with someone for over a decade. You've grown, changed, taken risks. But instead of cheering you on, this person nitpicks your decisions, questions your values, and injects sarcasm into every conversation. You try to explain, to reason, to set boundaries, but nothing shifts. Eventually, you stop calling. You stop oversharing. You stop showing up just to be torn down. Slowly, the space between you grows. One day you realize the silence is peaceful. You're not angry. You're just free. Still, people will challenge your distance. They'll say, "But they're your family," as if blood is a free pass to violate your boundaries. That's where ancient wisdom comes in. Seneca, the Stoic philosopher, said it best: "Associate with those who will make a better man of you. Welcome those whom you yourself can improve." Nowhere does he say to tolerate those who corrode your soul just because of shared DNA. Let them call it cold. Let them call it harsh. Let them misunderstand. That's fine. They're not your peacekeepers. You are. So here's the key line to remember. You're not punishing them. You're protecting you. Every time you withdraw access from someone who's proven they won't honor your boundaries, you reinforce your self-worth. You make room for people who actually lift you up. And most importantly, you remind yourself and the world that peace is not a privilege. It's a standard. And not everyone gets to meet it up close. Refuse to explain yourself. There's a quiet revolution in learning to say less, not because you're hiding, but because you've realized your worth doesn't depend on convincing anyone. Over-explaining is often a trauma response. It's a reflex born from walking on eggshells, from trying to preempt criticism, from being told, directly or indirectly, that your instincts aren't enough. So you explain, and then you explain the explanation. And guess what? It doesn't earn you more respect. It earns you more scrutiny. People who don't respect you use your explanations against you. They take your words and twist them, frame them as weakness, or hold them up as proof you don't know what you're doing. So here's a radical idea. Stop giving them the ammunition. You don't owe anyone a detailed breakdown of your decisions, your direction, or your dreams. You don't have to justify why you left the job, why you ended the relationship, why you dyed your hair purple or moved cities or started over at 35. Because I wanted to is a complete sentence, and a powerful one. It signals sovereignty. It says, I know what I'm doing, even if you don't understand it yet. Here's the thing. When you stop explaining, the people who are only there to judge you suddenly lose their grip. I once left a safe corporate job to pursue work that made me feel alive, coaching, writing, creating. People raised eyebrows. But why? What about stability? They asked. I used to launch into lengthy answers about burnout, about passion, about my 5-year plan. But none of it mattered to them. They'd already decided I was being reckless. So one day I stopped explaining. I said, because it felt right. And the conversation died. Not because they agreed, but because they had nothing left to challenge. I wasn't playing the game anymore. And that's when I realized, the moment you stop justifying yourself is the moment you start trusting yourself. This isn't about being cold or evasive. It's about reclaiming your voice. You're not a defendant in a courtroom. You don't have to present evidence for your life choices to win approval. Marcus Aurelius wrote, if it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it. That's the standard, not someone else's opinion, not their confusion or criticism. Say what's true for you. Speak when it aligns with your values. Don't speak to soothe their discomfort with your freedom. So let them wonder. Let them speculate. You don't owe them closure. You owe yourself courage. Let your standards speak. You don't have to be loud to be respected. You just have to be consistent. There's a quiet kind of strength that speaks louder than any outburst or declaration. It's the strength of a person who knows their worth and doesn't feel the need to explain it to everyone. At some point, you stop trying to argue for your value and simply embody it. You teach people how to treat you not by what you say, but by what you allow. What you tolerate becomes the blueprint for how others interact with you. If someone consistently crosses a line, it's not enough to talk about boundaries. You have to show them. Not once, not twice, but every time. Boundaries are not requests. They're conditions. Enforcing them doesn't require anger or drama. Just action. If someone disrespects you, you don't need a monologue. You need a decision. Take the workplace. Imagine a manager who routinely ignores your input during meetings, credits others for your ideas, and passes you over for projects you're more than qualified for. At first, you try to rise above it. Maybe you tell yourself you're overreacting. Maybe you decide to give them the benefit of the doubt. But over time, it becomes a pattern. And patterns are data. So one day, you calmly bring it up. Professionally. Directly. You outline the issue with facts, not feelings. You make it clear that your contributions matter and that you're committed to working where they're recognized. Then you watch what happens next. Not what they say, but what they do. If nothing changes, neither do you. You start quietly exploring other options. You don't storm out. You evolve out. This isn't about ego, it's about It's about alignment. You're not punishing anyone. You're protecting your standard. That's the essence of Stoic virtue. Action over talk. Stoicism teaches that your character is revealed not by what you promise, but by what you practice. If you believe in respect, you act respectfully, and you require the same. If you value integrity, you walk away from what violates it, even if it costs you something. Especially if it costs you something. People may not always like your standards. That's fine, they don't have to. But they'll learn them. Not because you demanded it, but because you embodied it. In the end, it's not about making a scene. It's about making a choice. Quietly. Consistently. Without apology. Because when your standards are clear, your words can be few. Go closing. As you move forward, remember this. You are not here to convince anyone of your worth. That's not your job, nor your burden. You're here to live your worth, protect it with quiet strength, and reflect it through your actions, choices, and how you carry yourself. You don't need to shout to be heard. You don't need to lower your standards to be accepted. Let your silence speak volumes. Let your standards serve as your shield. Let your presence command the respect you already deserve. The right people will recognize it, without needing an explanation. The next time someone disrespects you, pause before reacting. Ask yourself, does this deserve my words or just my distance? Every response is a choice, and some situations only require your
absence. Because protecting your peace isn't weakness, it's wisdom. And sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is walk away with your head high and your dignity intact. He who angers you conquers you. Elizabeth Kenny. Let no one hold that power over you.